Hello, I'm Nora and welcome back to Novels with Nora. I am very excited for today's video because, as I'm sure you can tell from the title, I am going to be reading and because of one of my favorite booktubers here, BooksandLala. So her real name is Kayla, but her channel name is BooksandLala, and she is one of my absolute favorite booktubers and has been for years at this point. She is really who inspired me to make my own channel because I've been watching her for so long and really loved what she was doing with her channel and like the fun kind of like themed reading vlogs that she was doing, and I always just really loved watching her channel. And so I said, well, if she can do it, why can't I? So that's actually one of the reasons that I created my channel, because I just loved her so much. And because I've been watching her for so long, a lot of the books that I read and the recommendations that I take are from her, and I read a lot of things because she recommends them or she talks about them, and even if she doesn't like them, they sound interesting to me. So today I have a stack of books that I will be reading because of BooksandLala, and this is that stack. So I want to make it very clear, these are not her favorite books. If that was the case, The Raven Cycle would have to be here, but that's not what I'm doing. I am reading books that I own or have out from the library because Kayla at BooksandLala talked about them and they sounded interesting to me. So that is what we have in this stack. So I'm going to go through these books and tell you what I know about them. However, I want to make it also clear that what I know about them is not exactly what the synopsis is. It's what I recall from Kayla talking about them. First, I could not make this video without including Bunny by Mona Awad. I know that a lot of people, especially on BookTube and Bookstagram and BookTok, really like this book, but I originally heard about it from Kayla, and so I bought a copy for myself because of her, and I'm really excited to read this and see if it works for me in the same way that it works for a lot of other people. And this is like one of these staples of like the weird girl fiction subgenre, I guess. And what I know about this is that it follows a group of girls at a college. I think it's an MFA program, don't quote me on that, and it's kind of like a cult-like group of girls that all refer to each other as Bunny, and then our main character gets like sucked into the group and into like the weird dynamics of this group. Really excited about this, and I don't know if it's a prequel or a sequel, but it's called We Love You Bunny. Same author, really ugly cover, but I know that one is coming out soon, so we'll see if I like this and then want to read that. I don't think that Kayla was interested in reading it, but I am curious to see what we have going on here, especially because so many people talk about this book and they speak of it really highly, so I'm really curious about this one. Then I have another book that I know lots of people, especially here on BookTube, have really loved, and that is Monstrilio by Gerardo Samano Cordova. I am really looking forward to this one because I know this is a novel about grief, and this couple has a son who dies, and then the woman takes a piece of his lung and then it kind of grows into some kind of creature, and it really is an exploration of love and grief and loss. And so I'm really looking forward to this one as well. Then we have something that I have from the library because it feels like it might be out of my personal comfort zone, but I'm curious to give it a try, especially because Kayla loved it so much. And that is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. Now, Kayla reads a lot of like horror, thriller type novels, even like some fantasy, but I feel like lately she's really been branching out into like romance and things like that. And she really loved The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love, which is something I read and also really enjoyed. So I'm curious to see if this fits in that same vein of like romance, but with like a slightly more magical, fun plot. And I feel like that's what this is going to be. And I know very little about this other than it follows Emily Wilde as she is creating this like book, I think, of these different like fairy tale creatures. And then she has this like companion guy who she thinks might be a fairy, and so they have kind of like a rivals to lovers romance, I think. Again, these are all just like the bits and pieces that I am piecing together from what I remember of Kayla talking about them. But this one I feel like I have the least chance of liking because it is the most outside of my comfort zone. Everything else is something that I would maybe pick up on my own, but this is not something I probably would have picked up if not for Kayla, so I'm really curious to give this one a try. And then we have a novel from an author that I've read from before, and that is My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. I Was a Teenage Slasher from this author, and I know that Kayla gave that one 5 stars and really liked it. I gave that one 3 stars and didn't love it, but I really liked the writing of that novel, and even I read that one in a vlog and I said that I would be curious to try something else from Stephen Graham Jones, and so here is me giving that a second try. And I don't actually know anything about this one. I know literally nothing. I just know that Kayla talks about this author a lot, and the one book that I know that she gave 5 stars from him I didn't love, so I'm curious to give this one a try and see if the writing still works for me in a different plot setting. So really also intrigued to give this one a try. Finally, we have more of a deep cut from Kayla's channel, and that is We Ride Upon Sticks by Quan Berry. This is one of the first books that I remember like really taking as a recommendation from Kayla because she talked about it kind of a while ago, and she still mentions it like a few times more recently, but I'm really curious about reading this one because I feel like the most about this one. This follows a field hockey team in Massachusetts, and then it has like some kind of relations with the Salem witch trials and like just like queer girls doing weird freaky things. and I'm into that. So I'm really excited about this one, and I feel like I'm really going to enjoy this. This one, I haven't read it, obviously, but this one kind of feels very similar to the show Yellow Jackets. So I'm curious to see if the comparison that I've been making in my head is accurate and if I end up enjoying this. So these are all of the books I will be reading in this vlog and reading because of Kayla over at BooksandLala. So I'm really excited about this because, like I've been saying, I love her channel so much. I love the recommendations she gives. She's really good at like articulating her thoughts on books and describing like what they're about in a very well put together way, which is something I'm trying to get better at. So I'm gonna try and be good at that during this vlog, but this is what I will be reading. And I think I'm actually going to start with Monstrilio. I think that this one is a good place to start because I feel like it's going to be one of the heavier books because it deals so much directly with grief. So we're gonna start here and then just continue on. And the hope is to get at least 2 stars from these 5 books. So I think we can do it. I feel like a lot of these are very promising for me. So let's just get right into it. As I'm sure you could tell by both the lighting and the outfit change, it is significantly later and I have made quite a significant amount of progress in Monstrilio. I am on page 245, which is like the last little chunk. I think I have like 80 pages left. And the book is broken down into 4 like perspectives, and there's chapters within them. They're just not numbered, and the audiobook just does like sections for each of the characters. So they're broken down like this. And so I only have the last one left. And I'm really enjoying it. So this follows this couple, Joseph and Magos, who have this son, Santiago, and he was born with only 1 lung, and he ends up dying when he's like 11, I think. And Magos, in her grief, cuts him open and takes a piece of her lung, and then she goes home to Mexico. They were living in New York at the time, and she goes home to Mexico. And her mom's housekeeper / lover tells her of this story that she heard when she was younger of this girl who had a piece of someone else and she fed it and it grew into a man who then gave her a child. And so she starts feeding the lung, who then turns into this Monstrilio, who kind of like fills the void and the place of Santiago, her son. And Joseph and Magos, as well as their best friend Lena, all have very different perspectives and different opinions on how this new creature should be handled, and if it is Santiago or if it's something completely different, someone completely different. It, I feel like, is really bringing up a lot of interesting conversations about like creation and like personhood, but then also like grief and loss and like how everyone experiences grief differently, because in the like period right after Santiago dies, we see Joseph and Magos really deal with their grief very differently, and how they're 2 versions of grief. Like they wanted the other to be more for them and they couldn't do that in their grief, so they end up growing apart, and it's just really fascinating to watch. And then like Lena, as the character, the best friend, she is also really interesting in the way that she interacts with both of these people, and then her relationships with them. And then her relationship with Monstrilio, because she's a surgeon. Love her. I think she's my favorite character so far. I still have 1 more to go though. But I'm really enjoying this. It is very heavy in its depictions of grief, but it also feels very heartfelt, I guess, because it's like you can tell that this was written from a place of love. And I feel like it really reminds me of the Marvel quote from WandaVision, where Vision tells Wanda, "What is grief if not love persevering?" Because like that is really what this feels like, because you can't have grief without love, but then you also can't have love without grief. And I really like how the 2 are going hand in hand and being handled in here, and I'm really enjoying this. I read it all very quickly. I'm listening to the audiobook and I really like the narrator, especially when Monstrilio was like just coming into his voice, we'll say. I loved how the narrator did that, really enjoyed it. And so I'm having a really great time with this, and I feel like this is a recommendation from BooksandLala, where this book has like a really high rating, but I don't think that this is something that I would have picked up if not for her specific recommendation, because I don't know that I would have heard about it if not from her channel. And even if I had seen people like posting about it on like Instagram or TikTok, I don't know that I would have been inclined to pick it up. But the way she talked about it and then her thoughts on it, like I bought this copy. So far I'm really enjoying it. I don't know that it feels like a 5-star right now, but I do have still like 80 pages left to go, so who knows. Also, this book, I don't know what it is or like what material it is, but it just feels so good to hold in my hand. There's just some books that reading physically just feels so nice, and this is one of them. I really enjoy reading paperbacks over hardcovers, and this one just, I don't know what this material is, but it feels so good. So I'm really having a very great time with this. I'm really liking the like time jumps that are in here. At first they're like a little bit confusing, but the way that they like wrap everything together is just very nice. And I'm pretty sure this is this author's debut, and so this is like really very well done. Like I'm reading it and I'm like, the writing is like really good. Like it was describing someone's smile and how his smile started to fade, and it was like held up by toothpicks, and I like just like the descriptive writing, and like it's kind of like flowery writing, but in a way that's done really well and really works for this narrative. I'm really enjoying it, so I'm just gonna keep reading and hope that my enjoyment continues. finish Monstrilio, and it is 5 stars, which is very exciting. This is one that I did not know if it was going to be 5 stars because I don't ever really read things like this, because I feel like this is also something that is very much unique in and of itself. And so I feel like I don't really have anything to compare it to, but it's a lot about like grief and loss and love filling the void of loss and then loss filling the void of love. A lot of like roundabout circular narratives, and I really enjoyed it. I really had no expectations going into it. I figured it would probably be like middle of the road 3-star, but it ended up being a 5-star for me, which is really exciting. It is so beautiful and like heartbreaking, but also like heartwarming at the same time. And those are like my favorite books that like break your heart but like put it back together at the same time, and this really did that. I really loved all the different perspectives in here and like this found family, because yes, Joseph and Magos were together and then had Santiago, their kid, but then they both like have relationships outside of that, and then also like have like friends, and then just what Monstrilio comes to be. It was just so wonderful in like the found family and like the making your family aspect. And then in the acknowledgements, the author says, "To my friends who are family and family who are friends." And I really enjoyed that, because I feel like it really does go both ways. Like you can have friends who become family and family who become friends, and this has both of those, and I really enjoyed it. It was, I feel like I'm very like peppy and happy, but it definitely was a more sad book, I guess. But also like the way it ends, to me, it's definitely like an ambiguous ending, but to me it's like a happy ending for everyone, because what ends up happening, obviously I'm not going to spoil anything, but I feel like what ends up happening is like the best possible outcome for all of these characters. And there's, in the back of this edition, I don't know if all of them have them, after the acknowledgements there is a reading group guide that asks a lot of questions, and the last question it asks is, "Did you enjoy the ending and or find it cathartic? What do you think happens to Monstrilio after the final page? What do you hope for these characters' futures?" And personally, I really enjoyed the ending. I think it was the perfect way to wrap it up and not have it be like, well, there's no way that that would act, not that any of this would actually happen, but like, I don't know, something about it just felt so raw and real, and like that is like the best possible outcome for these characters. I really enjoyed this. I personally don't have a lot of experience with grief and loss, but I feel like if you do, this might really resonate with you, because there's so many characters who experience grief and loss in so many different ways, and just I really feel like we see the whole spectrum of grief, and I really enjoyed that. And I feel like this was just so well done, especially for being a debut. Like that's crazy that this, like, he just sat down and just wrote this. That's crazy. I really love this, and I definitely will be keeping my eye on this author for what he writes in the future, and I'm going to go like follow him on Instagram to see what he's up to, because he seems like a cool guy if he can write this. So really enjoyed this. Thank you, Kayla, for recommending this. I really like this, and this was a very strong start to this video. So next, I think I'm probably going to move on to Emily Wilde, which is like a crazy like 180 switch, but I feel like that's what I'm in the mood for. I want something a little lighter after this. Not that this was like even super heavy, like it definitely was in some aspects, but it didn't really feel like it, because even while you're dealing with grief and loss, you have like these lighter aspects of it, and I feel like I don't know, I really enjoyed it, and I feel like I will probably continue thinking about this and continue to have thoughts on it as my thoughts progress, you know, and I'll continue to share them throughout the video if I continue to have more. And then I'll also link my review in the description, because I find that sometimes my written reviews are a little bit more put together and like concise, if that's what you're into, so I'll link that as well. But I really enjoyed this, and this is truly something that I would not have picked up on my own without Kayla's recommendation, so this is very exciting because it is a 5-star. About 50% through Emily Wilde, and I'm enjoying it so far, but I also have a lot of thoughts. So this follows Emily Wilde, and she is writing the like world's first encyclopedia of fairies and the fair folk that exist in this world, and her journeys have taken her to this like snowy, icy, cold, like Nordic village almost, where she is learning about and writing about their specific type of fae. And while she's there, her co-worker, I guess, because they both work at Cambridge together, and I wouldn't really say that they're like rivals. Like she doesn't really like him because he's kind of like, he outsources all his work to his students, and like is just kind of like lazy in his work, and has been caught like falsifying research before, and that is none other than Wendell Bambleby. And he is very much outsourcing all of his work. Like he does not do his work. He brings his students with him, and he's like, yeah, you guys got into it and I'm gonna sleep in. And he, like I said, has been caught falsifying research, so when things get hard, he's like, what if we lie? And Emily has a theory that he actually is a fairy, And that part of the story I thought was like the main like plot line through this. Like I thought that it was going to be like Emily doing her research and also like kind of investigating Wendell at the same time, and that is not the case. That mystery gets solved real quick in here. Like I would say about like 30 to 45% through, that already is dealt with, kind of. Like I can see where it's going to continue through the story, but I also am like, oh, that's what I thought like our main like driving factor was going to be, and it's not that. But I'm really enjoying it. I just feel like this is something that like I really would not have picked up on my own, and I am enjoying it. I'm having a good time. I really like Emily as a character and her relationship dynamic with Wendell as well as her dog. Really enjoy that. However, I feel like the reason that a lot of people like this is because it's like fun and light, but definitely has some like heavier moments to it. And I know that Kayla really enjoyed The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love, and this is definitely very similar to that, where Ornithologist was more like light, like it was a lot like lighter of a book. This I would say is definitely like heavier than that, but not by much. And then my favorite in this like type of like character who's like a scholar in their field type novel is the Saffron Everly mysteries. All of the titles are A Botanist's Guide to Something. I think there's 3 out so far, and those I would say are definitely heavier, and so I would like put them all together. I would group them together, but they're definitely all different, and I am liking this so far more than Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love, but I love the Saffron Everly mysteries more than both of those, and I think it's because in both Emily Wilde and Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love, the female main character is very much like absorbed in her work. Like she's really good at what she does, and she's like a very smart, astute, capable woman, but she like fails miserably when it comes to like social interactions and making friends and things. And I don't love that, because then the male character always comes in to like help her like acclimate to where she is and help her like get to know the villagers or like get to know the people that she's with and like form connections in that way. Where in the Saffron Everly mysteries, Saffron is like fully capable on her own. Like she is like the only female professor in her department. She lives with her friend, like she's had boyfriends and things. She's like very capable in all aspects on her own, and I really like that about her. And that one is definitely darker in tone because it takes place shortly after World War I, and so it's dealing with like the trauma, like the collective trauma as a country through that, but then also a lot of the male characters had been in the war and are dealing with the trauma and the survivor's guilt. And then Saffron also has a lot of her own things that she's dealing with, and I feel like that one also there's no like magic in it, where this one is like fairies and then Ornithologist is like the magical birds. Saffron Everly mysteries have like no magic. Like she's a botanist, she deals with like poisons and flowers and things, and I think I really like that about that novel and that series. And I think that's what I'm missing from this, is that I just don't feel any gravity in here. Like it just feel like it's fun and I'm having a good time and I'm enjoying it, but I'm just missing some like heft or like some weight to it, I think. And so if you're looking for like a fun good time, then this is definitely for you. But I feel like I want more with like these fairies, and maybe we're getting there because where we're at in the plot right now, we're encountering some of the more like dangerous fairies. So maybe like we'll get there. I am only like 50% through, but so far I've just been like, I don't know, like I'm enjoying it, but it's just not really doing it for me, you know? Where those Saffron Everly mysteries, in my head, these 3 type of series are like very similar, where we have like a female main character who's like really good at what she does, you know, like I feel like it's natural to group them together, even though the Saffron Everly mysteries don't have the magical component. It like checks all the other boxes that these series have. And I enjoyed The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love. I just thought it was very repetitive, and so this isn't doing that. Like I can see where we're moving and I'm enjoying it. I just don't know that I'm loving it. You know, like this one's not gonna be a 5-star for me, I don't think, but I am having a good time. And like I said, this is not something that I would have picked up on my own. So I'm glad to be reading it and like stepping outside of my comfort zone in this way, because I typically do not enjoy books with any type of fairies, anything. I don't really like it, but I am enjoying this. I'm curious to see where the whole Wendell plotline goes and if like a romance develops from there. Like I'm sure it does, like based on everything that's going on, but I'm just curious to see how that goes. I think that's another thing that kind of like dings these books for me, this and Ornithologist. We have like this female main character who like doesn't really interact with a lot of men, but like the first man who shows any interest in her, then they get together. And like that's fine, it's just not something that I really love, you know? Where in the Saffron Everly mysteries, not to keep comparing them, but like that's how it works in my brain. She has multiple love interests, and like she is very capable of like having romantic feelings and exploring those connections, where this is just like the first man that shows interest, we're together. So at least it's a series, and I don't think they're gonna get together in this first one. So I am enjoying it, and I'm going to keep reading, obviously. I feel like there's something missing for me. I don't know if it's like the weight that I'm looking for, and maybe that'll come in later, or if I'm just not loving the relationship between Wendell and Emily, because like Wendell is getting on her nerves. Like he's not doing his work, he's lazy, he's slacking off, he's trying to like fake his research. And like if I was in that position, I would be so annoyed. There would be no romantic feelings whatsoever. So I'm kind of hoping that in this one there is no romantic anything, and that doesn't happen until the next book that I don't even know that I'm gonna read. But like right now, I don't like Wendell as a love interest. So we'll see. I am having a good time. I really like, there's a few of the different like fairy creatures that I really enjoy, and I really like them as characters. So there's a lot that I'm enjoying. There's just like something missing for me. But I'm going to keep reading, and I think I'm going to try and finish this one today so we can move on to the next one, because this, it's like I'm enjoying it, but it's just not like keeping me gripped, you know? So let's just keep reading. To do because I have read quite a bit since I last talked to you. So, like you saw in the last clip, I did finish Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, and while I enjoyed it, I didn't love it, and it ended up being a 3.5 for me, which isn't bad by any means, and I am interested in possibly continuing on with the series, but it's definitely not a 5-star, you know? And there was a lot of things in here that I enjoyed, but there were just as many things that I didn't love or could have loved had they just been done a little bit differently, but they weren't, and I can only obviously rate the book based on what it did, not what I wish it had done. So there were a lot of things that I enjoyed in here, like I said, and I can see why so many people really love this and why it works for so many people, but as a mostly fantasy reader who doesn't really read a whole lot of romance, especially not straight romance, this did not work for me for one big glaring reason, and that it's I don't like Wendell as the love interest. I think as a character, he's very interesting, very fascinating, like him. As the love interest, I don't buy it. Because when he originally comes to this little cottage where Emily is staying to like help her with the research, he just makes things harder for her. Like he stresses her out, he's not helpful, he's lazy, he fakes his research. Like he's just not a super great researcher, which I feel like is what Emily wants and what she like needs of what little I know of this fictional character. And so like again, he's a very interesting character and clearly cares a lot for Emily, but I don't buy it. You know, I feel like Emily needs someone who really is like dedicated to the research in the same way that she is, and come to find out that Wendell's only in it for like a very specific reason, and I'm just like I don't like it, you know? And also like he just got on my nerves sometimes where he was like, I just want to lay in the bed. I was like, girl, we're here for the research. As a researcher, mildly, I was getting so annoyed with him, and I was like, please, you need to pull it together. And then outside of that, I had some issues just with like, some of the way the heavier things in the book were dealt with, because there were scenes where some fairies were getting like ripped apart, like dismembered, body parts ripped off, blood in the snow, like, and then like corpses were being shown, and because they were like snow fae, like they were just like dripping and melting, and it should have been like really gruesome and really heavy and like really dark, and it wasn't. And I don't know if that's just the way I was interpreting it as the reader or the way it was handled in the book. It felt like these big, like grotesque, gruesome, violent things were happening, and we would just traipse along into the next thing. And so it didn't feel like those things that should have had so much weight, they didn't have it, and it felt like they really should have, and so that was just a little off-putting. But again, there were a lot of things I liked. The villagers in this little town, absolutely loved them. The two girlies who were together, who we had to like then go off and save, really loved them. I really loved the characters in the story. I just didn't love the way they all interacted with each other, if that makes sense. So while I am curious to possibly continue on, especially because there's a lot of like loose threads, it's definitely not like an interconnected standalone. They're very much like a series. And so I'd be interested in continuing, but I don't know that any of them are going to get higher than a 3.5, because again, I enjoyed it. There were just so many things that really tarnished my enjoyment. So that being said, when I finished that, I moved on to My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. And before I get into my thoughts on this, I have read fully I Was a Teenage Slasher, also by Stephen Graham Jones. And I feel like these books are very similar. When I started reading it, because like I mentioned, I did not know what this was about at all, which I can now tell you. It is about this girl, Jade, who is graduating high school, but she lives in this small town and she is absolutely obsessed with the slasher genre of film, especially like from the 80s. And like, that's all she talks about. That's all she knows. That is like her thing. And she makes it very clear that that is her thing. She talks about it constantly, which like totally fine. I wasn't really meshing with that, but like, anyway, she's absolutely obsessed with slashers and she doesn't really have any friends. Her family life, not great. And in this town, she starts to think that maybe a slasher is coming to her town and the cycle of the slasherisms, I guess, are about to start occurring. And she's like real excited about this. And she kind of is having those moments of like, should I be excited? But also like, this town kind of deserves it. Like she's having a lot of like internal struggle with, should she be excited about this? Or like, should she warn people? Different things like that. And then she's also like, well, who's it going to be? Like, where's it going to start? These are all the pieces that have to come together. And that part was interesting. However, I am DNFing this one. I am. So backing up, like how I said, it's very similar to this. This also follows, like this title suggests, like a slasher occurring in this small town with these characters. They do have friends in here, but like they're really obsessed with the slashers. So I feel like very similar. And the thing is, I think that Stephen Graham Jones as an author could be for me. I just need to read something that is not one of these two. And I know he has a lot of books. Like I thought that this was his debut. Either this or the one before this, The Only Good Indians. No. Only Good Indians is the very last entry on this long list of novels. So clearly there's a lot of other novels and novellas and different short stories for me to choose from if I want to continue with this author. And I do, because I really enjoy his writing. I love like a meandering narrative that isn't super linear. And this is that, but it just feels so overwritten to the point where I'm like, I see where we're trying to go, but we're taking like 17 steps to get there when it could just be one. We could go from point A to point B, but instead we're going from like point A to point B with like a point 1, point 2, point 3 all the way through. And it's just like, it feels so much. And like, I am just dragging my feet through this. And I couldn't even really tell you why I'm not enjoying it. I just feel like it feels so similar to this, like a lot of similarities, but also like there are differences. They're two very different books, but they just feel so similar. And this was only a 3.5 for me. And this one is in a trilogy. And I know based on my enjoyment of it at this moment, I would not read the other two. So then reading this is like, why am I spending my time with this when I could be spending my time with other books that I would love more? And so I am going to put this one down. But the thing is, it kind of like pains me to do so because I am enjoying the story and I like that. I don't like Jade, but like the other characters, like I'm having a good time with them. I like this world that he has created here. I just can't get past how annoying Jade is because she only ever talks about slashers. Like anytime she gets a chance, like literally every conversation she has, she's bringing it up. The people around her are like clearly confused, uncomfortable, trying to find a way out, and she just keeps going. And like that's what the author wanted to achieve, and like he's achieving it, you know. It's just not working for me, and so I just have to like cut my losses because I am like just shy of 50%. Like I'm into the book, you know. Like if I was going to start enjoying it, I don't think it should have taken 50% through for me to start liking it. And then I also posted a TikTok last night because I was considering DNFing, but I was like, I don't know, because I feel like there's something in here that I might really like. So I posted on TikTok and was like, I don't know. 2 people commented and said that they DNF'd it, and then 1 person said that they read it and loved it. So I am gonna put this down. Now there is a chance that I come back to it at some point, and I probably will read other things from Stephen Graham Jones because I like his writing. I can tell that there's something in it that's for me. It's just buried under so much in this story that I can't get to it. And because I know that this felt very similar, and I didn't love it, and I had similar problems to it where it felt just very overwritten and it took like so long to get where we were actually trying to go, I am going to put this down. And that means that we're not doing super great in this vlog so far. While we do have 1 5-star with Monstrilio, we have a 3.5 star with Emily Wilde, and then a DNF with My Heart is a Chainsaw. So that being said, you know, not feeling super confident, but also reading tastes are so subjective. And the thing is, I can tell that there's something in Stephen Graham Jones writing that would be for me. I think I just need to try something different from him that's not about slashers. And I can tell he loves them so much, and like that is his thing. And like good for him, it's not working for me. So that means we have 2 more things left, and they're actually the 2 that I'm most excited for. We Ride Upon Sticks and Bunny. So I'm really hoping that these are both 5 stars, or even just like above a 3.5 would be really great. Something that like I enjoy and don't want to unhaul. that would be really the goal. So Bunny, I know, is like a cult classic, like beloved of like everyone on, not everyone, it's like a very divisive book, I feel like, but I feel like the people who like it really like it. So I'm really hoping I'm one of those people. And then We Ride Upon Sticks, I've heard of literally nothing outside of Kayla talking about it. So I think this might be where I want to go next. I don't have the audiobooks for either of these. And another thing, I had the audiobook of this too, and I had it on 3 times speed, and it still felt so slow. So I've convinced myself that I've made the right decision there, but I feel like I'm gonna save Bunny for last, just because I feel like there's like so much tied up in this one. So this will be saved for the very last book that I read. Unless I end up DNFing this and then I'll swap something else in, because I do have some other options of things. Like I said, I get a lot of recommendations from Kayla over at BooksandLala. So a lot of the books that are on my shelves are things that I've heard of from her. Similarly, like when I'm going to the library and I'm like, oh, Kayla talked about this, I'll check it out, just because I'm like, well, she talked about it and our reading tastes are sometimes aligned. So I have a lot of things that I could swap in if this one ends up being a DNF, but I don't think it will be. This one sounds very much like it's going to be for me. It sounds like weird and possibly like magical. I'm not sure. I'm really looking forward to reading this one. It is a longer book, but I think maybe that's what I need. And maybe it's not even that long. No, it's not even 400 pages. It just feels big. So I'm really excited about this one, and I'm hoping that it doesn't let me down in the way that some of these other ones have. But also, I know that those 2 things that I didn't love were things that going into them, I knew that I had a smaller chance of really enjoying. So this one I'm really excited about. So I'm hoping that it lives up to my expectations, you know, but also limiting my expectations so that I don't get my heart broken. But this is what I'm going to be starting next. Good news. I am now about like a little over 50% through We Ride Upon Sticks, and I am loving it. This follows the 1989 Danvers High School women's field hockey team, and this is Danvers, Massachusetts, which is like right next to Salem. And it's this team of girls and then one boy, and they have a very interesting dynamic together as a team, but they end up all signing their names in this notebook, and it kind of gives them the ability to be like really good at field hockey, because in the season prior they were like losing every single game. I think they'd won 1 game and were just like not good, but since signing their names in here, they're winning all of their games, but it takes a toll on them, and it kind of just like links them all together in this really interesting way. So this is just following them as they're winning all these games, but also like what they have to do to keep up that like winning streak. And it's just very interesting in how they kind of create this like hive mind, and I'm just really enjoying it. I'm having a great time. It's really reminding me of Plain Bad Heroines by Emily M. Danforth, which is one of my favorite books of all time, because it's narrated in a way where it's like you don't know who the narrator is, because they know every single character, and like each chapter focuses on a different member of this team, but it's not like from their perspective. It's from like this all-knowing, all-present narrator, which is how Plain Bad Heroines is as well. And I loved the narration style of that. I just thought it was so unique. And the narrator has their own personality, is like kind of snarky and like adds to the plot. And that's exactly what's happening in here as well. So I'm really enjoying that aspect. And also just all of these characters, because there are so many, it would be so easy to get them all like confused and jumbled and just like be really lost. But that's not happening in the slightest. And I'm really, really loving it. Like I said, I'm a little over halfway through and I am eating this up. This is something that like I would not have picked up on my own, never would have even heard of on my own. So I'm really glad to have started this one, and right now it's feeling like a 5-star. It really is. I'm just, there's not much more I can say about it than that, because I feel like anything that happens after they like put their names in this notebook, it all would be like spoilers for what happens. But I'm eating it up. I'm really having such a great time with this. I just love a book where we have like really interesting characters, and the character voices are so strong that you don't even really need a super strong or like present plot, because like yes, there's things that are happening and like they're winning these games, and the chapters are broken up by like the different like teams that they play, so it'll be like Danvers versus whoever, and like that's how the chapters are broken down. And I'm really loving it. There's just not that much plot for me to tell you about, because it's really just them like going about their like teenage lives in their senior year of high school in 1989. And like, yes, obviously there's like some kind of like supernatural element happening here, but like, I don't think that that's really like the point, if I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm really loving the characters and like the character explorations that we're having, and like the way that, because it's like, yes, it's a team, but they all have like different relationships with each other and outside of the team. And I'm just really loving getting to know that and like seeing them grow as they like come into their power, I guess. And I am just having a great time, and I'm really hoping to finish it today because I really only have like a little bit left. So I'm just gonna keep reading, but I just want to let you know I am having a fantastic time. So I'm just really glad that I put down My Heart is a Chainsaw, because if I had kept sludging through that, I wouldn't be reading this right now, and I am loving this. So this is your sign. If you're reading something that you aren't loving, put it down and pick up something else, because you might end up finding a new favorite. I'm just gonna put that out there. This might be a new favorite for me, but I need to keep reading to find out. Oh, also, my hold for the audiobook came in through Libby, so I've been listening to that, and oh my god, I am loving it. The narrator does such an amazing job of like, when things are said that have like a bit of like heaviness to them, she's really good at like intoning that and just like making it clear without really having to like say anything more than what the book is saying. I'm not really sure how to explain it, but like she's just doing a very good job. And then there's certain passages where they're like reciting poetry or like singing a little song, and the audiobook really just takes it up a notch. So would highly recommend the audiobook for this one. Also, because this is gonna sound kind of weird, but it feels like there's so many words on each page. Like you saw a little time lapse of me reading it 2 nights ago when I had first started it without the audiobook, and like it was taking me forever just to get through a page, just because like there's like it's a big book. There are a lot of words per page, but it also just feels like a lot. So having the audiobook has definitely been really helpful. Finished We Ride Upon Sticks, and I am happy to report that it is in fact a 5-star. I loved this so much, and when I gave you my last update, I kind of knew it was going to be 5 stars, because I was like, there's nothing that this book can do at this point to bring it down so far that like it just completely like negates all of the other enjoyment I was having with it. And this, I just loved it. Like I really cannot say much more about it than I already have without like getting into spoilers, but it was just so wonderful, and I feel like it just did so many things that I absolutely love. I really love a character-driven story where we're caring more about like the relationships between our characters than we are what's actually happening to them, and this was that perfectly. I feel like it had a really good mix of things. It was just so wonderful, and it reminded me of 2 of my favorite books of all time, and I had already made the comparison to Plain Bad Heroines because of like the narrator, but also just like the way that the characters progress and like kind of change, but also like kind of don't. Really very much similar to this. This is one of my favorite books of all time. And similarly, my favorite book of all time, Brutes, it's so similar. Like these 3 books will forever be linked in my head because they have such similar themes. Like they're all just like about girlhood and like these groups of girls that like are all very different but like come together so perfectly to like form one new entity, I guess. And like I was thinking about this and I was like, oh well, who's my favorite character? And the thing is, like, I can't say, because I feel like it's more about like them as a group than them as individuals, even though like it does focus on them individually and like their own goals and things. But similar to this, it's more about them as a group and like the hive mind of it all, and just like the way they come together and like the power that a group of teen girls with like the same mindset all together can really have. And I just, yeah, these 3 books are some of my all-time favorite books now, like, and they'll always be linked in my head. And I had made a comparison of this and Yellow Jackets before I started, when I didn't really know what I was talking about, honestly. But I do feel like there's certain aspects in here that I can't name specifically because they will be spoilers, but very similar to Yellow Jackets. So if you do like Yellow Jackets, I would recommend picking this up. And I did make a video a little while ago book recommendations for if you liked Yellow Jackets or The Wild, which are two similar TV shows, books that you should read. And if I was making the video again today, this book would be included because it fits so spectacularly. Like it just did everything that I loved, and I just loved it. Like, I really don't know what else I can say. It was 5 stars. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. Really loved the writing. And I'm curious if Kayla has read any of Quan Barry's other novels, because I know that there's quite a few, and also like some poetry collections. So curious to see. I can probably check on Goodreads and see, because like I want to read more from this author because I really, really love this. Like, it just did everything perfectly for me. So very, very excited about this. And that means that we are now moving on to Bunny, which I'm hoping that I also love. But this one really could go either way because I have heard so many things about this that it's like I can't even like parse them out anymore. It's like people love it, people hate it, people are like, well, I don't get the hype. Some people are like, if you don't get it, you just don't get it, you know? So curious to see where I end up falling. And I think this is the only one that I don't have an audiobook for because the hold was like months long. So clearly there's interest here, and especially probably with the sequel or the prequel, still not entirely sure, coming out next year, I think, or later this year, probably drove interest on this up too. So just really curious to see what I end up thinking about this, because I know that this is like a booktube darling. Like, people talk about, like, even if they don't love it, they talk about it a lot. So curious to see what I think, but just so happy that we got another 5-star. And like, I loved this book so much. Like, even just like, I was giggling, I was smiling, I was like reading some parts, like it was just so perfect. And I feel like it really just captured like being a teenage girl. Like, obviously I wasn't alive in the 80s or the 90s, but like something about this was just, I think there's something about girlhood and like teenagedom in girls that is just so universal, and this just captured it perfectly, and I loved it. And also just like a lot of great representation that, like, even if at the time, like in the 90s, it wasn't super great, or like it was 89, but like at the time wasn't great, like the narrator like mentions that and like calls it out. It was so wonderful. I loved it so much. Read this book. I don't know what year this came out. I want to say 2019, 2020. Let's see. Yeah, 2020, so not even that long ago, but I feel like I don't see anyone talking about this book, so this is your sign. Pick this one up because I absolutely loved this. And now I can't wait to get to Bunny. Good evening. Notice anything different? Yeah, I cut my hair. That's what I was busy doing today. Look at it. I wasn't originally intending on going this short, but like I always go back to short hair. I feel the most me with short hair, so that's where we're at. It's also raining and I have my windows open, so you might be able to hear the rain, but it is what it is. I have started Bunny, and I am on part 2, so it's broken out into 3 parts, and I just started part 2, which is about like page 125, and my thoughts are very like up in the air right now, because it's like I don't really feel any particular way about it, where it's like it's fine, I'm not loving it, I'm not disliking it, I'm very just like middle of the road right now. It's like really starting to rain now, but I feel like I'm just getting into like the meat of the story, you know. I feel like this was like introducing us to the bunnies and like the setting and like everything that's happening in Samantha's life, and now we're really getting into her being a bunny. So really curious to just like keep reading and like see where it goes from here. But I feel like this is the type of book that is like taking all of my brain power to read it. I don't have an audiobook for this, and I feel like that would be helpful, but I feel like it's like truly taking every single ounce of my brain to read this book, which isn't a bad thing, but it's also not necessarily a good thing. It's just like a thing that's happening, right? It feels slightly overwritten, but in a way that's like that's adding to the atmosphere of the book and like the plot itself, where being overwritten in the way that My Heart is a Chainsaw is just was like, that's just how it was written. It wasn't really adding anything, where this, it is adding to the story, and it's adding to like the atmosphere that's being created. And it's like I'm enjoying it, but I feel like right now, like it could literally go anywhere right here. Like I don't know what's gonna happen, and I think that's kind of the point, where it's like this is truly a book where it's like you're reading it and like you don't know where it's gonna go. And so it's like I'm enjoying it so far. I'm having a good time reading it. I feel like it's just taken me a lot longer to read the same number of pages in this as it would like a different book, which is very interesting. But it's like I am enjoying it. I just don't really have a whole lot of thoughts right now, where it's like the writing style, I feel like it's like holding me at a distance, but like, I feel like I can't really like get into it. I think just because I find myself being like, this is so many words that are being used for like the same thing. So I'm just gonna keep reading. I'm not DNFing, and I did think about it. I started it one night when I was like kind of like tired, and I was reading and I was like, oh, this is not going well for me. But then I picked it up the next morning and was totally fine. So like, don't read this when you're tired, or if you do have the audiobook. But it's like I really don't know what to say about it, and I feel like that's how my thoughts are gonna be even when I finish it. It's either just gonna be like, yeah, I enjoyed it, but I couldn't tell you why, or no, I didn't enjoy it, and like here's kind of why, but also I don't know how to talk about it, because that's just kind of how this feels. But like I'm not disliking it, I'm just also not liking it, I guess, but I'm also not liking it. I don't know. Again, thoughts are very up in the air. I really feel like I have to just like keep reading, but I just wanted to update you, let you know where I'm at. I hope to finish it tomorrow, but that might be asking a lot of me, but I'm not sure, because like I said, it is kind of like taking a while for me to like really get through it, I feel like. But now that it seems like we're really like in it, whatever it may be, I think it might go a little bit faster, but it's also really floppy, which is nice. But it's like I'm having a fine time. Not good, not great, not bad. So I'm not really sure what that says about the experience here, but I'm just gonna keep reading and just see what happens from here. I feel like I can't really say much more about this other than it follows this main character, Samantha, and she is at this like really elite school for her MFA, which is Masters of Fine Arts, for like writing. She wants to be a writer, and she has just been like in like a mental block. Like she's not writing anything. Everything that she's turning in for this one class is just stuff that's like she's already written and she's just kind of like turning in now, but she's not really feeling very creative. She's feeling just like very stuck. And in this program, it's her and then 4 other girls who all refer to each other as Bunny, and so they are the bunnies. And she seems to have like some weird relationship maybe with like one of her advisors, but like she's also being like kind of held at a distance from her program, but also is she holding herself at the distance, or are they holding her at the distance? Right. She has a friend who is like kind of weird and doesn't really go to the school, and like her and the friend like look down on this group of girls. It's just very interesting, and it's like she just seems, Samantha, the main character, seems like she's just very like down right now in her life, and this group of girls, the bunnies, have taken her in, and we'll see what happens from there, because I could not tell you right now. But I'm just gonna keep reading, hope that I start to enjoy it a little bit more, maybe, because it's like, again, I'm not disliking it right now, but I also, I'm not like sucked into it, you know, like I could put it down and be fine, but at the same time, like I don't want to, because I'm like invested a little bit. So very interesting mix of emotions that are happening right now, and I feel like that's kind of like what I've heard about this, is that it's like very weird and you never really know what's happening, and that is how it feels. So I've been talking a long time about how I don't know what to say about this, but I'm just gonna keep reading, and hopefully next time you see me, I will have finished this and have more cohesive thoughts to give you. Away from the lamp so you're not like blinded, but I have finished Bunny. My thoughts are very like middle of the road. Like I didn't love it, I didn't hate it. I'm giving it 3 stars. Like I think it's fine. I just don't think it was for me. Like I can totally see why people would really like this. I can especially see why Kayla would like this. This seems like exactly what I would imagine her reading taste to be, especially in something kind of like weird and freaky like this. And I enjoyed it. I just feel like I didn't get enough of the characters, especially our main character, to really feel like I cared. I've changed the angle. I am sitting over to the side of the chair because the side is full of books, but again, I just don't feel like I really was connected to any of the characters. Like I did not care, not about a single one of them, truly. And so I feel like, because as we've seen through this vlog, I really love like a character driven story, and this could have been that for sure, but it just wasn't. And so I just don't think that it was really for me. I'd be interested in reading more from this author, but not this. And I'm definitely not going to be reading the sequel slash prequel, which I found out, We Love You Bunny. It is from the bunnies' perspectives, going over everything that happened in this book from their perspective, which I definitely do not want to read. And it's almost like 500 pages. I barely wanted to read the 300 pages of this. I definitely don't want 500 pages. And also, I read a review from a reviewer that I trust, that I follow on Bookstagram, and he was saying that it really just kind of like took away the ambiguity of this. And like he was saying that like he read it for a book club and it was really interesting to like see everyone's different perspectives, where that kind of took that away, because then it was like giving, you know, here's exactly what happened. And I just don't think that that's really necessary. I can see why that might be interesting, but it's definitely not something I'm interested in. So I'd be interested in reading other things from this author, because I know that she has quite a few more books, but this just was not for me. It is 3 stars. I don't regret reading it though. I'm glad to like be in on the conversation about this now, and I totally see why people love it, why people don't like it, why people like me are just in the middle of the road. I think this is like, again, a very like divisive book, where I feel like you either loved it or you hate it, or like you're directly in the middle. There's no like, yeah, I kind of liked it. It's either you liked it, it was fine, or you didn't like it. So curious then if you read it, what you think about this, because to me it was kind of just fine. I don't really have any like thoughts in either direction. Like again, truly just fine. I think that had the characters been stronger and had we been given more time maybe in the beginning to get to know Samantha, the main character, then maybe I would have liked it more, but that's not what happened. So 3 stars. And that brings us to the end of this vlog. I have read 5 books because of Kayla from BooksandLala, my favorite booktuber, and I will continue to read her recommendations because clearly there's something in there that's working for me. We had 2 5 stars with We Ride Upon Sticks on Monstrilio, and I love both of these and have continued to think about both of these since finishing them. Like, as soon as I finished this, I was thinking I want to reread it, and then I was just starting to edit the clips of this vlog that I've already filmed, and in editing the clips of this I was like, I want to reread it again. Like, I just want to be back in this book because I loved it so much. Like, truly, this was such a win. Like, even if this was the only thing that I enjoyed from this vlog, it was so worth it because I loved this book so much. And both of these things are things that I would never have even heard of if not for Kayla. So I'm just like so glad that they worked for me because truly neither of these are things that like would have stuck out to me in any form or fashion because they're just not things that I think I would really gravitate towards. I'm really more of like a fantasy, horror, sci-fi reader, and these are like not really that. This one especially, I don't know how to categorize this because it's like technically I can see why it would be YA because it focuses on high schoolers, but at the same time, like, it doesn't feel like it's for young adults. Like it's like an adult novel, but then also like what genre is it? Because it's not horror, it's not fantasy. Like, speculative fiction I think is the best way to go, but that's not really like a super like well-known genre. So this one is just, I love this book. If nothing else from this vlog, read this book. Like, truly, thank you, Kayla, for talking about this and clearly talking about it in a memorable way because I bought myself a copy and absolutely loved it. And then Monstrilio, because talks a lot about like grief and loss, it's not something that I would have picked up on my own, and truly I probably never would have even heard of it if not for Kayla, and I ended up giving it 5 stars. So I think it really just goes to show that like, even if there's books that you never would have heard of on your own, probably wouldn't have picked up on your own, you could still end up really loving them, and it's because of booktubers. And I really formed my love of reading because of booktube, and I've been watching booktube like since I was able to get on the internet, so like this has just been a super fun video for me. But then we had a 3.5 with Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, and again, not something I ever would have picked up except for Kayla, and I didn't love this one, but I can totally see why so many people do, and I will not be continuing on with this series. I don't think it just doesn't really like call to me, but I'm again glad to have read this one. Like, nothing that I read is something that I like regret having spent time on, other than our DNF My Heart is a Chainsaw, but we'll get there because next, numerically, we have Bunny at 3 stars, and again, glad to have read it. Like, I don't feel like this was a waste of time in the slightest. Really glad to have read this, even if it was only a 3, because I feel like there are so many things in here, and I feel like I'm going to be thinking about this one for a while. Even if I didn't love it, I feel like there's a lot in here to be parsed through. So I might even end up, I probably won't reread it, but I feel like there's a chance that if you do reread this one, you'll gain a lot more from it, just like knowing what you're getting yourself into. So again, glad to have read it. Does not feel like a waste of time. This is something that I may have picked up if not for Kayla, but probably not, honestly, just because, well, maybe, I don't know, because going into it, it kind of reminded me of Yellowface with all of these people in this like writing program and how they kind of like have friendship but like rivalry in a way, and that's kind of what Yellowface was like, and I really loved Yellowface. So I might have picked this up on my own, but the insistence, I guess we could say, from Kayla is what made me pick this up. So there's that. And then we had our DNF, yes, and this is something that I might have picked up on my own because I've heard a lot about this author. He's a very prolific author. He's written a lot, as I'm sure you now know, but this just really didn't do it for me, especially because I then read I Was a Teenage Slasher and then this, and maybe if I had read this first, I would have given it longer, I guess, but because I had read I Was a Teenage Slasher first and didn't love it, and this felt very similar to me, then I didn't want to, I don't want to say waste my time because I don't think that reading at all is a waste of time, but it just didn't feel like something that was going to add any value to my life. And when I put it down, I ended up picking this up, and you know my thoughts on this. So overall, with these 5 books that I've read, I would say that I will continue to take recommendations from Kayla and continue to read things that she talks about and pick up things that she recommends, because even though I read 5 books and only 2 were 5 stars, that's 2 out of 5. That's still really good. And the thing that I DNF'd, I keep saying I Was a Teenage Slasher. The thing that I DNF'd, My Heart is a Chainsaw, I feel like I should have seen that coming after I read I Was a Teenage Slasher. So I'm really happy with how this went, and I will continue to do these types of videos for other creators because, like I said, I love BookTube. I'm always watching. I'm a watcher and a creator, which is super fun. And so there's a lot of other booktubers that I would love to do videos like this for, because I get so many of my recommendations from booktubers. So if you have any favorite booktubers, please leave them in the comments. I'm always looking for new people to watch, but I had a lot of fun with this, and I'm just going to continue to watch Kayla's content. I might even make a part 2 on this in the future, because I still even have on my shelf so many books recommended by Kayla that I could pick up. So if you enjoyed this, let me know and I can continue doing it. I will probably continue to do it anyway, but if you want to see a part 2 of Books and Lala recommendations, I can for sure do that. And then also, I think in the new year, after everyone comes out with like their top books of the year videos, I want to do like reading my favorite booktubers' favorite books, and Kayla will obviously be included in that because she is like my OG favorite. So I just had a really great time with this, and it was fun to read things and think about it from the perspective of Kayla from Books and Lala, and think like, well, I wonder what she was thinking while she was reading. So I just really had a very fun time with this and read a lot of great things. Even if I didn't love them all, I found a new favorite book of all time. So expect to hear me talking about We Ride Upon Sticks a whole lot more in the future. But for now, that is all I have for you today. So I hope you like, comment, subscribe, and I hope to see you in another video again soon. Bye!